I just want to tell you all how great this policy manual is. It's easy to read. It's in a great format. It will be printed. We'll have one per office, and we will also have it online so that if there are changes and things that happen, then we can update the policy manual. It's a living document. And also I wanted to comment on that we are very excited for conference this year. We have a great schedule, a great agenda, and we can't wait to see you and meet. We have so many new NEAs. We can't wait to meet you as well.
Cool. All right, this is Jocelyn. I just want to reiterate once more what Heidi said. We're going to have a hard copy of the policy manual in your hands for conference, but we really want to emphasize that any updates and changes will come through the scoop, and then I will do my darndest to keep the policy manual up to date, most current on the website and in an iBook form. So it's nice to have a hard copy if you need to read it while you're lounging about, but whenever you really have a question that is possibly changed, then you'll want to go to an electronic document, what Heidi calls a living document, will just keep it up to date for you. So when you have new employees hired, then you will certainly want to send them to the website where they can get the most current information. We don't expect a ton of changes, but every now and then an email change or a contact person will change, or some of those things. We just want to save you the grief of having to go round and round, which has happened sometimes. And one other thing is that today is October 1st, and so you're supposed to be going in and doing your travel authorization form, but we do not have the index number yet. So put that on your calendar. The minute we get the index number, we will send you an email, and that minute, if you will have all the NEAs and agents even go in and fill out the travel authorization, that authorization will be effective through June 30th. But it says in the policy manual, go in and do this October 1st. We realize you can't do that today, but as soon as possible, that needs to be done. Okay.
And as well as that, we just received word last night, about 7 o'clock last night, that our plan is approved. We will have our funding, and so that is part of the holdup. It's just a slow process. Hopefully we'll have an account number today.
Okay. As you can see, we've got the policy manual up on the big screen, and hopefully you have this PDF version in your email, and I'll send the final out later. But we're going to go ahead and just go through and highlight some of the points we want to make sure that you see in case we point out any changes. And we're going to go ahead and we'll start with Heidi.
Can you guys please mute your microphones? They pick up lots of feedback, which makes it hard for others to hear. So mute it as soon as you can, and then when we have comment periods, we will be very patient.
There we go.
Okay. All right. So first, I'm going to start on the first page of the policy manual, which talks about the goal for Food Sense, and the goal for Food Sense is to increase food security and make healthy food choices within a limited budget, and will choose physically active lifestyles consistent with the current dietary guidelines for Americans in USDA's My Plate. We also work on decreasing the likelihood of developing obesity and other chronic diseases. And with that, we are not, in our state, our NEAs are what we call paraprofessionals, who go out and teach the lessons based on the My Plate and dietary guidelines. And so even if we have a background or have experience with certain diets, we still have to keep it within My Plate and dietary guidelines. So we have lots of goals and objectives, and that is just they're things that we try to reach every year. They're very similar to last year, and you're able to see them in the policy manual. But they all focus on that overarching goal that I just mentioned. This is a great document that Jocelyn and the team worked on and developed. It's a date to remember, to help you remember what's happening, and so that you can put it in your calendars and keep up to date on everything. The one thing that I really wanted to mention was the timesheets. It's funny to me that a lot of people miss the deadline if Gayla doesn't happen to send out a reminder, which she does all the time. But if you're working a job, usually you work it to get paid. And so I think that it would be good to print off your timesheet and keep it filled out throughout the month so that when you go to add in your numbers, you have it there. And you know from the timesheet what day it's due because it's the last day, what is it,
Noon the day after the end of the pay period.
Noon the day after the end of the pay period. So keep up with that. I'll let Steve talk more about travel reimbursements and mileage sheets in his section. But use this document to, once again, add it to your calendars, and so you know when things are due and what needs to happen.
Hi.
Yes.
This is Lou, and I was wondering, where can I print off the policy? The policy manual. I don't have that.
It should have been emailed out to you
Did you get an email reminder about this meeting today?
this morning.
It's attached to that document.
I haven't even looked. I haven't had a chance to be in my email yet today, so
Right.
We
that's
understand
where
that.
I find it.
Right, we understand that you haven't, and once again, the policy, it's really hard to set policy when things are changing and you don't know what's going to be approved and what's not until the last minute. And so that's why it's coming in, although we're really a week ahead of conference. We just wanted to update everyone on this. So today's a review. We'd like you to read it before conference, and then that ensures that we're following the correct policies that USDA wants us to do. So sorry it came today, but.
And in the future, Lou, I'll have it on the website in a prominent place that you can find it easily on the staff menu.
That's great. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So the objective of an NEA is to focus on helping participants create healthy habits through basic nutrition and active lifestyle education following the current USDA and dietary guidelines and My Plate. There's a time commitment. You've been hired to work a specific number of hours in your county. Once again, we have to reduce from the 40 hours that we were allowed to the amount that your agent has asked for. And at this point, we are approving what the agent has requested. And so if that changes, we will let you know in the next couple months as we move forward. The work week. Another thing I wanted you to know too is sometimes we have weeks that fluctuate. Sometimes you might work more hours in one week than you do in the next, and that's okay. We just need to keep it within the allotted amount of time during that time period if possible. But especially this summer when we were allowing 40 hours, I just wanted to emphasize that the work week begins on Saturday at 12 a.m. and ends Friday at 11:59. Even though the time card goes with the calendar week, that is the USU work week. So if you're working a Saturday and adding hours to, so Saturday on the time card is added into the next week's hours, that might make you over 40 hours, and we just cannot pay overtime. That's not allowed in our grant, and so I needed you to be aware of that. There's a new employee checklist which we've sent out prior in the policy manual. It gives you the link. Just note and make sure that you all understand, even if you're not new, go through it and make sure that you have the information needed to fulfill your role. And along with that, I'm not giving you the address because I'm going to have you go look it up in the policy manual, but I want everyone to know the website. You should really know what's in the staff menu. You should be very familiar with it, and use it regularly. That's where we update everything. And so the curriculum that we use is there. Everything that the newest paperwork, everything is there. Okay, job requirements. This was all pretty much written in the job description. I just wanted to emphasize once again, our job is to help families and individuals improve their lives. And then also we need to just make sure that we keep that confidentiality on whoever we teach, on the list that we get on the participants that are in SNAP. We just have to be very confidential. And if by chance you're not, that will be immediate termination. It is written in our code of conduct from GWS, and it's just a mandatory part of the job. Judge your personal safety in any teaching situations. That includes travel. It includes the location that you're at, the location that you're recruiting. You just have to make the best judgment call that you can. If you feel uncomfortable, then you probably should get out. So know that you have to make the judgment call on that situation, because we don't see where all of you are. We have more than 45 NEAs right now. We have more than 45 NEAs, and so we don't know where everyone is. I also wanted to mention the required documents. We tell you how to complete those documents, how to make sure that you're where you need to be. The first thing I wanted to mention was the BCI, the background check. So now we are able to, when someone is hired, and I believe it's university policy, they take, especially when they work with audiences like we do, they take that new employee's information and send it right to have the background check done. So that's not a step that you have to do. It's something that the university takes care of, and then we get it back. So that helps with that.
Can we interrupt for one moment and just give Matea 2 seconds to...
Yeah, so this is Matea, and I apologize. I have to sneak in my section right now, and I have another obligation here in a few minutes. So we're going to be talking about paperwork briefly, and then we'll get back to what Heidi is talking about. So when it comes to paperwork, I'm specifically talking about the evaluation. So I know that you have a lot of other paperwork that's required that goes to gala, but I'm specifically referring to the evaluations that you do for the participants to gather information about the participants. So if you go to your policy manual and you look at the requirements for adult and youth participation forms, you will find that some things have changed since last year. So we'll still do the NEA activity record when you teach youth or adults. The class participant form is very similar as it was last year. We've made it look a little bit more appealing, but besides that, it's very much the same. And we will be distributing new class participant forms at conference. So again, just like last year, you will get forms from the state office, and anytime you need more forms, you can just let us know. Yep, and then for the next week, you will be, you can just go online on the website and you can find the form there, along with all of the other forms that we'll talk about today. So you can find it on the website and print it off. Now, just please don't make copies of a print that you've made, because it just doesn't work with Eileen's scanner and the program that we use. So just make all the make all the prints that you need directly from the computer. So when it comes to youth forms, you will still do the one-time youth class record and the youth participant by race, which we have done for many years. But there has been a big change. We are not asking you to do any of the other youth evaluations that were required of you last year that were related to pre-post or just post evaluations. We have instead decided that we are just going to have one evaluation for youth, and it's called the Youth Create My Plate Parent Evaluation. So it's actually an evaluation that will be used when you teach in a school setting. So if you were to go into schools and you were to go multiple times, We have a lot of NEAs who will go throughout the year or throughout, part of the year. And so this evaluation would actually get sent home with the children, and their parents would be asked to fill it out, and the kids would be asked to bring it back. And some of the little reinforcement materials could be used as a way to, get those parent evaluations back. So just that is a big change, and we know how time consuming filling out these forms is, and so we're really trying to make sure that we're getting the highest quality information in the fewest amount of evaluations. I also wanted to mention that your links for Qualtrics will still be available online, so you can go to the website and you can find all of the links from last fiscal year and for this fiscal year. So make sure over the next few weeks that you're putting in information into the correct fiscal year, and it should be pretty clear right on that link for you. And within, after the September paperwork is turned in, we will take off the old links, so only the most current ones will be available. But I know a lot of you still have paperwork to submit for September. So that's really the main thing I wanted to talk about. Are there any questions before I need to take off?
Mataya, this is Monica from Weaver. So that my play form that you are talking about is just gonna be one time?
Nope, it's for a series. So if you were to go multiple times to a school, so if you were to go into a classroom and teach on multiple occasions, then we'd ask you to send this survey home with the kids for their parents to fill out.
At the end? At the end or at the beginning of the series?
At the end of the series.
It's a lot like how Teresa does her Weaver moves.
And we don't have we know that our NEAs who actually go into the classroom are very different in how often they go. So we don't have a specific definition of what a series would look like, but we imagine that to be multiple classes where you'd actually see behavior change over time. So for one NEA, it might be after 6 lessons. For another, it might be after 8 or 10. If you continue to go throughout the course of a year, you can wait until you're done with the end of that, school year or the end of that semester or whatever it is.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Matea. All right, I'm gonna skip over to the abuse section, and I just want to mention that if you see abuse, then you're obligated to report abuse, and it does tell you how to do that. It's uncomfortable, I understand that, but we just have to report it because we're obligated by law. You don't go looking for it, but if you do see it, then it needs to be reported. And I've already mentioned about that. So down under counseling, I've already mentioned that even if you have a background to teach concepts on disease, our program does not allow that. We are to teach prevention through the My Plate and dietary guidelines. And then there's the 3 parts of the NEA, which is to recruit, teach, and document. And the thing that I wanted to highlight on this is while we were doing the performance appraisals, we had an NEA from Box Elder mention that when she recruits, she doesn't say, I went to that place and I'll never go back because they told me no. She goes back often because people change and situations change and needs change. And she found that by going back continuously, she is able to get in to places that were originally no. But once again, no doesn't mean forever. No just meant no for a moment, and so you can always look back. And there's lots of counties now that actually don't have to do a lot of recruiting because they have so much work happening. So just see if you can find a place where you can have an established schedule so you can continue to return and teach. It just probably makes your work so much easier. Build relationships. Also, I wanted to mention under teaching, one of the things that we've also learned at the performance appraisals is many NEAs teach the same lesson throughout that whole week. So everywhere they go, they teach a lesson on smoothies, and whether it's at Desert Industries or Macy's Little Theater or wherever it is, they're teaching the same lesson, so the preparation is so much easier. And so be frugal that way, be effective, and try to figure out ways to lighten your load. Also, I want to encourage you to advertise and to begin teaching, if you're not already doing this, a series of classes, which means that you're teaching the whole Creates curriculum, and it's advertised out that here's your lessons, you do smoothie, casserole, quick breads, however it goes, but that you're making sure that that your participants know that you will have a consistent class, so that the next time they come, it's the same time, same place, so that they can attend, if possible. And then who to teach, I'm going to let Eileen talk about that in her eligibility stuff. And do I go on to chapter 4? Was that chapter 3? Yep. Okay. Sorry, you get to hear a lot from me. And I'm taking more time than I thought. But I wanted to also mention the adult curriculum is the Food Sense Creates. We do have resources and supplemental material on our website that you may use to teach your classes, to, like I said, supplement your classes. And also, we are really using the Creates branding, and I have to say how I just stumbled across Kane County's Facebook page, and they brand everything, and I really appreciate that. They don't even know I'm watching them, but I am, and I really appreciate that they've taken the Creates logo and they advertise that way. They teach their classes with it. It's been awesome to watch. The youth curriculum, we have 3 youth curriculums. We have the Food, Fun, and Reading, which is for preschool kids. We have Create My Plate, K through 2nd, and Create My Plate, 3rd through 6th. We've had our extension agents, Susie Prevedel and Galen Peterson, and we have also had our NEAs, Sharmi Crowther and Mariana Hinkie, help develop this. They've taken things that have worked really well for them and turned it into this curriculum, which you will see at annual conference. It will be an awesome resource for you. But I wanted to mention those are our 3 curriculums. The other are also supplemental materials, but at conference you will get the curriculum. It will also be online, and you'll have an outline of how to teach, what concepts to teach, and that is how we're evaluating that. That's why, like Matea mentioned, we have the series that will then make it so that we can send it home, an evaluation home for the parents to fill out.
Let's see what's next. Target
Oh.
is Eileen.
Eileen.
Okay, eligibility guidelines haven't really changed at all. We all know that 50% of your audience has to be eligible for food stamps or other assistance. Also, you can teach in schools that have 50% or more children on free or reduced lunch. So that hasn't changed at all. I will be giving you updated lists of the eligible sites in your specific county. You may notice that one or two of the schools or one of the two stores have been eliminated. That's because they didn't meet the guidelines. The stores have to redeem $50,000 worth of food stamps per month. Now, there are some smaller stores that probably don't redeem that much, but probably do cater to a low income audience. In that case, if you could just send me a waiver, you'll be able to teach there. Because I know that there are some small stores that cater, in Logan anyway, to the Hispanics, and I'm sure there's others around the state. We have changed the waiver, updated it with the new poverty guidelines, And that's also on the new class participant form. So just be aware that those guidelines have changed a bit from last year. Also, if you have any questions about eligibility, you can give me a call. We cater to, we can teach at Department of Workforce Services offices, or we can teach at food banks, or any place where low-income people might gather. We also can teach at Head Starts, eligible schools, eligible grocery stores, and farmers markets that have the EBT machine. And I think those will be increasing as the year goes. If you have any questions about eligibility, I'll be happy to address them. And if you have any questions when you get your new eligibility lists, just let me know. There's HUD housing on there, and then there's also Housing Authority. And I know in some counties you don't have HUD, but you have other public housing. So if you just, again, send me a waiver of eligibility, and then you'll be able to teach at those facilities as well.
And when we
Eileen?
have those,
Yes.
This is Teresa.
Yes.
We have a charter school that is part of the Weaver Moves, and I think I talked to Heidi about this a while back. We're looking at the overall percentage of the numbers that we're reaching being at 50%. Does that site have to be at 50%?
The school, as far as I understand, do they have I'm sure they have a lunch program. Do they have free or reduced lunch at that charter school? Do you know? They do not. Well, then I think what you have to do is determine whether they live in an area where there are a lot of low-income people, or talk with the administrators and see if 50% of their youth are low income. Is that right, Heidi?
yeah, the administrators probably know.
Okay, we've already done all that, and they're not. They don't qualify. So, but my question is, of all of my numbers in total, if we are still coming out for all of the kids that we're teaching, or all of the adults that we're teaching, still meeting, does that make sense?
Yes, it does. We aren't supposed to be there then. We might be able to figure out if we can get other funding to provide the funding for the NEAs, or whatever the resources and things are, then we might be able to stay there. If it's kind of just a tricky.
No, I understand. I just was thinking if all of our totals are still meeting the 50%. Collectively from all the, because some of the schools are 80%, so it would be a wash.
Right.
But I understand. That's just fine.
Teresa, let me go back and look into the guidance, because it's actually lightened up. We just still keep it fairly tight, so that if we're audited, we're still right on. So let me go look and see if there's any chance, but probably not. But let's work on this one-on-one situation.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Heidi, this is Lou.
Yes.
I remember, well, we haven't had our program for the past year, and we're starting up again. We used to be able to teach anywhere in the county because of the poverty level. Is that still true in San Juan County, or has this changed? Is this what I'm sensing, that there's been a change?
I do not know what your statistics are. If you could tell me if it's 50% of your county are below poverty, then I can say yes, you can teach there anywhere.
Okay, I'll check on that.
Okay. Okay. The next thing that I really wanted to emphasize is we have a disclaimer, and we have our logos on the website. And so we really, when you're making materials or flyers or information that goes out to the public, the disclaimer is required. It's required by law, and also the logos are important. Did I skip Steve? Okay. And the the last thing that I wanted to emphasize, and then Steve will have his chance and to tell you what he needs to, is that you have a huge resource right there in your extension office of the ag and horticulture agents and the 4-H youth and development agents, as well as assistants. And so really get to know your local extension office, build a relationship with them. We can teamwork together on projects and things, and so it's just a important relationship to build. And so now I'll let Steve talk about money.
Okay, you want to pass the mic over and make sure everyone can hear me? So there's not a lot of changes to what's allowable, what's not allowable, and how the funding works. I just wanted to highlight a few things. I know we have a lot of new NEAs this year, so I just wanted to kind of quickly go over things. Heidi had mentioned that last night we just received word that DWS got an approval letter from FNS that the plan was accepted. We still need to get our contract with DWS, and I would expect that'll come fairly soon. So each individual county budgets will be sent out in the next few weeks once we get that contract put in place here at USU. So you can be looking for that, and those will also be posted on your county links on our website. So one of the first things I wanted to talk about were the allowable costs. Just for a reminder for those who've been here and for those that are new, letting you know what you can spend money on. And this comes right out of the guidance. You can spend money on activities that provide nutrition education and obesity prevention, things that help when you're teaching physical activity, gardening for the purposes of education, breastfeeding promotion activities, collecting information for use in providing nutrition education, and evaluating SNAP-Ed projects. So those are just some kind of general areas that FNS has specified that costs are allowable for the program. Specific things that are not allowable: medical nutrition therapy. Heidi had mentioned that. We are limited to the scope of SNAP-Ed and what we can teach, regardless of what credentials you may have or what background you may have. If you're qualified to teach other things outside of that scope, you can do that, as your own business or however you do that. But as an NEA in the SNAP-Ed program, we're limited by the scope of SNAP-Ed. So medical nutrition therapy is not allowed. Providing SNAP-Ed services to persons not eligible for SNAP benefits. This kind of goes back to that 50% of your participants at least must be SNAP-Ed eligible. The program is geared to target low-income populations, and so consistently teaching people that do not qualify for those benefits is not allowed on the program. And then clinical health assessments of SNAP-Ed population, that's not allowed either. Some things to keep in mind when you make purchases, and this kind of comes from federal cost principles. This is applicable to any federal program. The expenses need to be reasonable, so you think about a prudent person when they make an expense or they make a purchase. Would a prudent person buy this item, or is it more than what needs to be? Can you find a similar item or the same item for less money? So think about that. Is the cost necessary to provide the education that you are providing? Is it necessary for your class? Is it necessary for the demonstration? And then allocable. And this kind of has more to do with administrative costs and things that may be used in the office than what you might purchase for your actual classes and your demonstrations. If you have a cost, think, can this be allocable to just this program, or can this be used for multiple programs? So think about technology. If you're using a printer or something, you need a new printer. Can this printer be used for other programs, or is it just for SNAP-Ed? So those costs need to be allocable to the program to be allowed. Most of our expenses from the NEAs are going to be related to their class demonstrations, and regardless of whether food is purchased or not, there are some things that must be accompanied with each and every purchase. An itemized receipt must be attached, and I'll talk about that in just a second of what I mean by attaching that. If food or drink is purchased, a recipe must be provided so FNS can determine whether that item was needed to make that recipe type of thing. And then a class roll. A class roll, if it is available to get, must also be provided, especially with food purchases. USU has a meals and entertainment form that is associated with P cards, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. Part
really
of that.
Quick, can I
Yes.
mention? I know Rich County's having trouble getting on and off, and I'm really sorry about that. We will have this recorded if you're still on, so that you know that you can watch this at a later time. Really sorry that you're having trouble.
Okay. Part of the meals and entertainment form, we need to identify who it is that we are serving. So if you can get a class roll from your classes, that's great. I know there are some areas that the venue does not allow collecting a class roll, and that's fine. But where you can, we need to have that. Okay. So real quick, just talking about travel. Heidi mentioned before that we will have our index number soon. I'm trying to get a hold of a sponsor programs administrator to see where our paperwork is, and hopefully we'll have that today. You can go ahead and start working on your TA forms to send in to Gala, and we will get that index number to you as soon as possible. When at the end of the month, when you're submitting your mileage for reimbursement, we've changed it a little bit there. The forms that we use for business services is not necessarily university policy. So for our program, instead of submitting that TR request like you do with the TA, all you need to do is submit your mileage. That, for the most part, is usually the only travel expense that we have in our program. So, so you don't need to fill out that whole TR form anymore. Just submit the mileage log. Be sure that it is signed by your supervisor. It will not be processed if it is not signed. So you can DocuSign it, you can sign it and scan it and email it. Those are the preferred methods of getting it sent in. If you mail it in, it's just going to delay your reimbursement. We have on our website a mileage log form in an Excel format that has formulas on there. USU reimburses mileage at 48.5 cents per mile. I know there are some counties that reimburse at a different rate. However, our program must adhere to USU's reimbursement rate, which is 48.5 cents per mile, and that's built into the Excel formula. So if you just go on our website and pull up the mileage log and use that, everything will calculate correctly. And then you can send it to your supervisor. They can DocuSign it and email it to Gala. Or if you need to print it out, sign it, scan it, and email it, that would be great.
One thing,
Steve?
not to.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, this is Teresa and Nikki. We were wondering, this starts October 1 for the
Correct.
No TR.
Correct.
Okay, so September the same as usual. Okay.
Correct. Yep.
And I wanted to just mention that we are not doing fax anymore, so everything needs to be scanned and emailed or done online through DocuSign and that kind of stuff. So it just makes it so much easier for us to track and make sure that we got the documents. And if you CC yourself, then you know that it's been sent and it should be good to go. So no more fax.
Hi, Heidi, this is Lou. Is that going to apply for timesheets? Gala always has us fax them.
Yes, everything, no more fax. I like whoever said awesome. It is great, yes.
Okay, there are quite a few counties that have P cards. If you don't have a FoodSense P card in your county, I'm sure your supervisor has an extension card. The county may be covering your demonstration supplies. So this applies to for those that have P cards. For SNAP-Ed, normally we issue P cards only to the supervisors. However, we do have counties with multiple NEAs, and to help with efficiency, those NEAs may be issued a P card as well. We will be looking at those on a case-by-case basis. If you feel that sharing one P card between multiple NEAs is not working, please let me know, and we'll work on possibly getting other P cards for those NEAs. We're just trying to make things a little more efficient. Instead of running all over the county trying to find one card, we'd rather just issue other cards. So along with the P cards, the P card holder is ultimately responsible for the costs that are incurred on that card. So before you're able to get a P card, there is a training that you need to go through, and if you're needing a P card, I'll send you the information for that. There's an agreement form that you sign that is sent to the P card office before you're issued a P card. So there are things that you should know if you have a card, things that you're responsible for. You should know what is allowable, what's not allowable, the process of what needs to be done when you make a purchase. If you have specific questions, we can go into that later, because I know this doesn't apply to all the NEAs, so I don't want to spend too much time. But so be aware that I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about Banner Workflow. This is the new P card system that the university has. I'm sure most of you are familiar with it. In this past year, as we've transitioned to these new cards, Gala had been assigned as the receipt attacher for FoodSense. However, beginning October 1, we're going to make some changes. Extension has kind of been behind from the college in adopting this business model that the university is going through. However, we're kind of getting everything on the same page now. And so to make things a little bit more efficient and more consistent with how extension is working, for those of you out in the counties that have P cards, we're going to change the receipt attacher to match how your extension cards are set up. Specifically for the supervisors, for the agents, if you have an extension card, whether you're attaching the receipts yourself or you have a county staff assistant that is attaching those receipts for you, I will be sending out an email letting you know of the changes, but Gala will not be attaching those receipts anymore. We'll just have you follow the same process that you do with your extension cards. So along with that, for FoodSense purchases, I mentioned before that you need to have three things. You have to have an itemized receipt. So I know some places all they give you is a credit card receipt saying how much was paid. It has to be an itemized receipt. If the vendor you're going to does not provide those, then you must have a paper or something, write out what it is that you bought so we can see what it is that was purchased. So we need the itemized receipt. We need the recipe if food or drink was purchased so we can match up what you bought with what is used in the recipe. And if there were no food and drink purchased, a lesson description or description of what it is that you bought the items for. That needs to be attached. And then the class roll. If you're able to take a roll in your class, we need that as well. One of the changes that we're going to be making, and we had a very good audit this year, but to make things a little more efficient and to ensure that we have clean audits going forward, this past year we've allowed you to just to have the receipt attached and keep any additional documentation in the county. We would request now that you have all that documentation attached for that P card expense. It just keeps everything in one place. We don't have to go into Banner to find the receipt and then go back to the county to find the other documentation. We can just get everything in one place, and it makes the auditors a lot happier. So as
Steve?
your, yes.
So with that, will all those documents be put together as one document when it's attached? Because I don't think you can add a lot of different.
If you can get it into one document, that would be much more efficient and a lot easier for you or whoever it is attaching that to have it in one document. If you have it as a PDF, I have found that that's the easiest format to use, and you can combine different PDFs. So if you're scanning those in, you can actually take multiple PDF documents and combine those pages into one document. If you have any questions about how that works, you can call me or email me later. I'll walk you through that specifically.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions about that?
I have one more comment on that. So it's still, though, that your stuff needs to be done in a timely manner. If it's past 30 days, then your P card will be shut down.
Yeah, I was going to get to that.
Oh, sorry. I'm taking his thunder.
Yeah.
Okay, so like she mentioned, one of the policies that the College of Agriculture and Extension is starting to put in place, we're still working out exactly how this will work. We're still trying to get our business services functioning efficiently. But that is one of the policies that we will be implementing. If you as a card holder have not attached your receipt or have given your receipt to the receipt attacher to put in so we can get that approval process started, if that has not happened within 30 days, your card will be suspended until that is taken care of. This comes from just a few months ago. We went through year end. In Extension, we had some people that we had issues with. Food Sense did awesome. We got all of our receipts attached, but just in Extension in general, we had some card holders that we struggled trying to get those receipts attached and get going through the approval process, and we had to go back through and do it manually. This new P-card process came with kind of a stipulation, I guess you could call it. Internal auditors are watching how this process works, and so those receipts need to be put in a timely fashion. Any expense made on a P-card will sit in limbo forever unless it has gone through the approval process. It will not post to the account. So we need to make sure that as soon as you make a purchase, that you're getting that documentation together and getting it attached so we can get it on the account, especially for SNAP-Ed. We need to have that on the account so we can invoice DWS and get reimbursed for that. There is a time frame. Our grant goes for 1 year at a time as far as the budget is concerned, and if we're not keeping up on those expenses, then we may risk losing out on reimbursement. So we need to have everybody make sure that they are getting those receipts in a timely fashion. In addition, if you have food or drink purchased on your P card, whoever it is that is attaching the receipt, whether it's the card holder or a staff assistant, will mark that expense as meals and entertainment, and it needs to be routed to the card holder. The card holder cannot delegate their responsibilities when it comes to P cards. If they are an approver for another P card, they can have a proxy for that, but as a card holder, you cannot have a proxy. And as it stands currently, the card holder is the only person that can put in that meals and entertainment information, so it needs to be routed to the card holder. If it is skipped, I will send it back to them for them to fill that out. And it's a very short section. There's only 4 boxes to fill out. The last one is for attendees / affiliations. This is where you would put in who's attending your class. If you have a very small class with just a few people, go ahead and put their names in there. If you have a bigger class, or if you're able to get a class roll and you can attach that with the receipt, you can just put in the box, see attached list. So it makes it a little easier. You don't have to write out 20 different names in that box. You can just attach the roll and say see attached list in that box. Okay, any questions about P-cards, workflow, how that works?
Steve, this is Teresa. On the list of names, does it have to be last names? We have issues with some of our drug rehab centers where they don't want us to use both first and last names. Is it okay to just list them by?
Teresa,
yes, that's fine.
And that's great to bring up too, because if there is a site that has sensitive information they don't want you to use, then you're just gonna have to write out what that site is and maybe not take a roll there. Good, we have 15 more minutes for our meeting, so but just be sensitive to that. Know that you might not be able to do that. Do you have?
Yes. That information is subject to where it is you're teaching. Like I mentioned before, there are some places that we've had NEAs teach that have actually said they will not allow the NEA to even collect a roll. And so we have to either mark it as indirect or just say the general public. That should not be a normal course of business if at all possible. If you can get a roll, please do so. If there are limitations based on where it is you're teaching, please respect those limitations. We can just make comments to go along with that expense as to why we weren't able to get the information. That's fine.
Okay. All right. This is Jocelyn again, and I'm just covering a couple things that Gayla had asked me to talk about. She wanted to make sure that everybody is aware that timesheets are due the day after. Is it working? Okay. The day after the time period ends at noon, and then, as was mentioned before, no more faxing. And so, preferably, we really would appreciate if people would go through DocuSign, which is intimidating at first, and then you find out it is slick as slick. So if you'll try and use DocuSign to get the timesheets in, if that just cannot happen, or if there's some obstacle there, then Gayla will accept an email with a PDF of your timesheet. And if you do end up doing a PDF, you'll need to mail in the original. She'll keep that. So just one last thing. Do not fax. We're going to unplug it, close it down, let it go. So everything needs to be done over the email, preferably DocuSign. And I think...
Will you say that one more time? If it is scanned and emailed, you do need the PDF mailed in?
Right, yes, with the original signature. The DocuSign counts as a legal document. Oh, we don't? Oh.
Not if it comes from the agent.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, if the email comes from the agent. Okay.
Sorry, no, if you need to scan and send in a PDF, that is fine. We just need to have the signature. The university is trying to go paperless as much as possible. It's kind of a federal push. We do need to have a signature on every document, but electronic signatures are just fine. If you can DocuSign it, great. If you need to send it as a PDF, that's fine as well. We don't need original signatures on a paper form anymore.
Okay.
Okay, so the PDF or the timesheet comes in, I sign it, I scan it, I email it. That's good.
That's great.
Yes.
Yep. And it's even easier because the timesheets can be filled out online, as you know, it's an editable PDF. And then if they type in their hours, email it to you, you drop your signature in there, you email it on, there's no scanning. If you want to look into DocuSign, it really does save a couple steps. But we will accept either one happily. Thank you.
Okay, I have two more things that I just want to read.
Does that count for travel document too?
The
We're
mileage
sending you
log?
original mileage logs?
No, we don't need original mileage log signatures anymore. We just need the signature. So again, DocuSign is the preferable way. It's very easy and simple to do. If you need to print it out and sign it, scan it, and email it, that'll work as well.
I do DocuSign all the time on my phone. It's a piece of cake. And on my iPad too. And on my computer. You can do it either way.
So if you sign up for DocuSign on one thing, then it signs up you're good for everything?
You'll have to download the application, the app.
Okay.
But yes.
On
yes.
each device?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And you can get the cheapie for free, and then they'll try and get you to upgrade, but you don't need to upgrade. We never need anything above and beyond just the drop signature. So if you get a notice saying, oh, it'll be $19.99 a year or something, don't do it. Just stick with your freebie.
Yep.
That's all we're using.
Yep.
Hi, this is Ann.
Oh.
Yeah, Ann.
Sorry. Could you send us instructions for doing the DocuSign again? Because we got tangled up with we have 5 free and then you have to pay, and we stopped.
Yes, we will.
Thank you.
Yep. Uh-huh. Okay, real quick before any more questions, I have 3 things that I want to re-emphasize because we're going to be logged out here in just a minute. But I want to emphasize that as of today, we have a new class participant form. Because you don't have that in your hand, you are able to go online and print that for this next week so you can continue teaching. Next week, you won't have to print them anymore. We will hand you a whole bunch that you will be able to use. Do not use the old class participant form as of today, and all of your information for last month needs to be given to us at annual conference if you haven't mailed it to us. So the deadline is annual conference. If you do turn in an old form later than that, it will have to go on this year's data. We just have time issues to make sure everything's flowing correctly. And
what about Spanish?
Same with
what about the Spanish?
The Spanish form is exactly the same. Thank you for that. Yes, it will be. It still needs to be done year to year, so this year needs to be closed out, and all the stuff that we receive after the 10th will go into next year's. So, but the form is the same as last year's in the Spanish form. And destroy all your English forms that you have printed. Throw them away, shred them, burn them. Don't throw them away, recycle them. I know lots of you don't have recycling sites, but use them for kindling. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is that we also need to be taking a class roll, which is online. Jocelyn's pulling it up for you right now.
Tell them it's editable.
And it's editable, so you can we need their first name and their last name. And then we also need, we made it so that you can add if you want the emails, if you want other information in your county. That is up to you. But we need that class roll attached to the front of your class participant forms for that class. So you go teach a class, you have 30 people in your class, only 20 did the class participant forms, and even though the roll says there's 30, that's fine. You just attach that to those class participant forms. And we need that for DWS.
Yeah, that's a Word document. You can edit it if you need to add more columns, take out a column, whatever. Just make sure, well, this is just supposed to be helpful to you if you have your own roll form. That's fine. But...
And was that included in the new book? Or where did she find that?
No, it's online. Oh, it's online.
Here's what she has up there is our staff menu that's online, which is what we really want everyone to get familiar with. Know the resources, know the curriculum. The youth curriculum is not up yet. We'll hand that out next week and put it up. So if you're teaching, then do as is, except for don't evaluate on the youth.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, we'll see everyone next week. Like Heidi said, we won't have our call on Monday, so we'll see you Thursday.
And remember to have extra space in your car. We really are taking a U-Haul. We'll take a picture of everything and send it to you as we're floating.
It's going to be fun. Okay, have a great day, everybody.